Bloodborne is a game that I've always loved, and it's a game that's always filled me with different emotions.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, are you fucking kidding me?
I don't feel like I've done it much justice. I mean, for only having a handful of weapons, I haven't even used most of them, and I say I love the game. So I decided I'm gonna fix that today by doing a new challenge run. What this run is gonna be is pretty simple. Every time I defeat a boss, I'm gonna be rolling a random number generator to get a new weapon. And I'm just corresponding each weapon to a different number. Now, that alone isn't too difficult, and because I really want to have time struggling with each weapon, what I'm going to add on top of that is I'm not going to allow myself to level up for the most part. I will allow myself to level up to get to the stat requirements to use weapons. So like if I need more skill to use a gun, I'm going to get to that exact skill, no higher. And then that will be the final leveling I do. So some leveling is going to happen, but for the most part, I'm staying with the same stats I started off with HP, stamina, and all of that. Just going to be having a little bit of higher damage so I can use every single weapon available to me. And this level rule is just needed because, truthfully, when you're doing a run like this, the game does tend to be a bit more of just a boss rush. There's not too much to do in between grabbing the weapons and maybe a little bit of upgrade materials. So I really just want to make sure I at least get a few hours with each weapon, even if I do start to get mad and truly start to struggle with this.
Are you kidding me? No way. Are you kidding me?
Now it's time to start this run after waking up from a dream that was definitely not foreshadowing how this run was going to go. You know, we start off the run strong, killing the werewolf once we wake up, and then I go to follow that up and grab the Saw Hunter's badge just to get access to every weapon I can to make sure I'm pulling from every weapon I can pull from. Now with the true list of options available to me, I do a random number 1 through 4, just corresponding with each weapon going down the list, and I get the Saw Spear. And earlier with the messengers, it was between the blunderbuss and the hunter's pistol, and I got the hunter's pistol, which is not too bad, especially for Gascoigne. I had pretty high hopes going into the Gascoigne fight, even though they were shut down pretty quickly. I mean, I struggled way more than I should have for this boss. He's normally pretty easy, and the challenge rules aren't really setting in. So this honestly is just a horrible sign for things that are going to come soon. Truthfully, this does just come down to a skill issue. I didn't play this game in a few months going into this run, so it really was just getting the rust off, and honestly, that's not even a real excuse either, because I really shouldn't have struggled anywhere near this much with Gascoigne of all fights. So it happened, but it was still pretty simple, parrying him every once in a while, getting some good hits in. Just the final phase always did give me trouble, so that was really where the real deaths were coming in. But 3 attempts, 4 attempts, not that bad still. I roll for my next weapon, and I get possibly the best roll possible. The torch! I mean, I also get the saw cleaver, but who really cares about the saw cleaver here? Putting on my thinking cap, I realized Old Garden would be the best place to go using a torch, so I make my way down there and make my way through it, killing the big gunner on the roof. I pick up his badge as well for the weapon, and just like I said earlier, to keep all the choices possible available to me. Nothing really special with Blood-Starved Beast, but my earlier statement about this being a boss rush is strengthened here. There's not much to do in between bosses other than obviously grab weapons like back there when I just grabbed the Spark Hunter's badge. But I mean, upgrades really aren't too important either, as I'm trying to save resources for those really hard bosses. So for a lot of these bosses, I'm keeping my weapons as low upgrade as possible, just to save those upgrades for when I really do need them and I'm really stuck on one of those bosses that just giving me a hard time. Either way, he's dead pretty easily, and that gets me access to the Cum Chalice, which I'm going to get the blood echoes from it. Ridiculous amount, obviously. And I spent about half on Quicksilver bullets and about another half on blood vials. Because I beat another boss, I have to roll for a new weapon, and I get the threaded cane and the blunderbuss, which actually isn't that bad. But it's also at this point when I realize I do need to beat Cleric Beast, so now I go back to fight him. So I mean, honestly, Cleric Beast fight, 1 attempt, perfectly fine. At the point of the game you should fight him, I'm not underleveled, completely normal, and I think he's probably the easiest fight in the game. One of the easiest fights at least, so no real struggle. I kind of get hit a few times when I'm doing stupid stuff, but that's honestly about it. He goes down pretty easy, and I now have access to the stuff I need to get to Vicar Amelia. Before I'm able to fight Vicar Amelia though, I do have to swap my weapons because I did just beat another boss, which is when the level rule change comes in place. It was at this point when I did make it, because the repeating pistol can't be used at base level, so I level up just high enough on my skill and blood tinge to use it, and I'm able to use it now. And I also have the Hunter's Axe, which actually isn't that bad. I'm kind of used to it. I used my first playthrough with it, so this setup honestly isn't that bad for Vicar Amelia, and it's pretty solid. I mean, this fight's pretty simple. This was honestly one of the shorter ones of the run. I'm finally starting to upgrade my weapons now, so I'm doing a good amount of damage. And yeah, honestly, a very simple fight. Nothing much changed here. I mean, I did take a lot more damage, but it's not the point of like one-shotting me or anything yet, so it was manageable. I didn't get hit too often, and honestly, still pretty easy fight all around. I start to set things in motion for later on, like opening up the gateway to get to witches for easy access later, and grabbing the Radiant Sword Hunter badge so I can get another weapon. And when I reroll my weapons, I get the Ludwig's Holy Blade, so it's worth it. But then I get the shield, which honestly sucks for the Shadows in Yharnam, because I like parrying them, and I can't really parry them with the shield at all. I talked to the dead not dead guy, give him the password, and get access to the Forbidden Woods pretty quickly. And once again, it really just shows how much of a boss rush this is. I completely make a beeline through this, maybe 10 minutes to get through it all. And I get to the Shadows. And it's honestly not that bad for now. And then it happens. I break the rules of my challenge, and I do swap out the shield. This honestly was a low of the run, and I had spent 6 hours maybe fighting the Shadows over and over and over and over and over again. It was just getting to the point where I just couldn't take it anymore. And I do continue the run, but I do fail here. And to me at least, I see this as, in the moment, I wanted to continue this run. I wanted to beat the game, but I didn't want to be on Shadows forever. So I did break the rules. The only good thing that came out of this is my resolve was greatly strengthened from here, and even as I spend up to 10 hours in the future fighting some other bosses, I don't give up, and I continue with the weapon that I had rolled. Later on at the end of this video, I do make my best attempt at a redemption. Of course, I can't redo this fight, so I will just reuse the gear that I did not beat them with. No levels up, completely the same, and I will use it for a future boss in my best attempt, like I said, to make up for this failure. Regardless, I do still kill them, and the run will continue like normal. I still reroll my weapons. I get the Stake Driver, I get Ludwig's Rifle, and I'm feeling more like I'm from Armored Core 6 right now with the Stake Driver and this big ass gun. So, you know, I'm in kind of a good mood after that last fight. And now right away we go straight into the Ram fight. Now, it's very quick, but even in the run, like itself, it was very quickly going to this fight. I died to him actually a lot more than I thought. I think this guy, I think Ram took me around 2 to 3 hours to beat. It's just every mistake I made, he would one-shot me, so it was pretty much, I'd have to get a flawless run almost. But, I mean, the weapon wasn't really a problem, it's Ram. Nothing was really too big of a problem from like a controllable standpoint. I just had to play better to win. And yeah, I mean, like I said, pretty simple fight. Not much to say here other than just the only real strategy I had in this fight was to kill all the mini spiders first, because they had the most like possible damage against me, which I just had to be careful about. But other than that, it really was pretty simple. Just dodging all his attacks and just waited for the very telegraphed attacks that he does do. This does turn out to be one of the longer fights of this run, as unsped up, I think it took me about roughly 10 minutes to kill him. And I think as of doing this voiceover, the other longest fight was only like 7 or 8 minutes. So to my knowledge, this is the longest fight in the run. I quickly stop in the unseen village, as that's where I am now, and take the lamp back to the Hunter's Dream, where I reroll my weapons and get the Kirk Hammer and the Flame Sprayer, which for the One Reborn actually isn't too horrible. Because at this point I also realized I hadn't changed my outfit, so I quickly changed that to make myself a dapper young man. While in the area, I quickly unlocked the shortcut for the One Reborn, which is going to prove to be very useful very soon. So before these clips, I'd actually already put in like 5 hours of fighting the One Reborn, but it was just too hard. But then I remember I can actually unlock twin blood shards for purchasing, so I go and do that just to make this fight a little bit easier, but it's still not the greatest. For the One Reborn, I'd say one of the redeeming factors for this fight was simply just that run back was super easy. I had coverage of this carriage every time, so it just simply was an easy run back. The One Reborn was the second closest I've ever got to just giving up completely on the run, but like I said earlier, the Shadows fight really just gave me like a renewed vigor, and I really just couldn't give up on this anymore. I knew I had failed once, I'm not going to fail again. And I mean, truthfully, this fight did take me like 7 to 8 hours just to beat, but I didn't give up. I took a little bit of a break halfway through, like 5 hours in, but other than that, I mean, it wasn't too bad. Simple fight, just so many high damage things he can do to me, so many easy things I can mess up, but once I got those things fixed, pretty easy. And then following this game's trends with dead corpses, I touched another one to get transported to the lecture hall, but I mean, this game has a real problem with us touching corpses. So for my next weapon, I got the rifle spear, which actually is a new weapon completely for me, and the other torch, so I'm now completely done with the torches. And I go on to continue with my goal of making it to the clinic to grab a few items there. Now at this point of the run, I was running low on weapons, but Canehurst still existed, and if I go through Canehurst, I'll get access to 3 more weapons at the cost of 1, which is exactly how many more I would need with the requirement I'm giving myself for the final fight. So I go and fight the witches so I can get access to Canehurst, but I don't want to waste a weapon here, and I really can't afford to waste a weapon here, so I do this fight with only my fists. The witches fight was still very easy. I did have to go down to 0 insight because in the first run, the guy they summoned absolutely whooped my ass. But surprisingly, visceral attacks still do pretty decent damage hitting for about 450 each time, even though my fist only hits for 2. So this fight is still very doable with fists. This fight does actually let me get a little bit more strong, because now I have access to like +3 runes, increased defense, and all that good stuff. But the main reason I'm doing this fight, like I said earlier, was to get the access to the weapons I can get by just going through Canehurst, which will give me 3 right-hand weapons and 1 left-hand weapon, which is kind of all I need to, because I can't beat the game without this like progression boost. So I do need to do this fight to be able to actually finish this run and be able to beat all the required bosses. As I wrap up this fight, I do enter like one of the only parts of the run where it's not a complete boss rush. I do spend a decent amount of time in Canehurst making sure I grab all the weapons, so about 30 minutes for me, probably like not even a minute for the video. But I mean, here it's Canehurst before the One Reborn and getting the twin shards are really the only big points in the run that I do more than just make my way straight to the boss, because truthfully there's not much to do other than grab weapons, grab upgrade materials, and fight the bosses. But for the time being, I just equip the higher HP and the increases to my defense, although the higher HP will quickly get replaced for 3 more blood vials. So now we enter actually one of my favorite areas in this game, Canehurst, where I have to go to pick up some more weapons and beat the boss of this area. So I'm going to go through and do all that pretty quickly. While running around Canehurst to grab the 2 weapons that are actually inside of the castle itself, I do change my outfit in the shortcut. Final outfit of the run, not too bad if I had to say so myself, even though I'm the one who picked it, but the weapons honestly aren't hard to find, and this outfit change was just something that was going to happen anyways. And now I'm on Logarius. I don't even know where to start with this fight. This is the fight that I struggled at the time of doing this voiceover the second most. And I think I put in about 9 hours into this fight. The rifle spear's shooting timing's way different than any gun I could have, and it just took a while to get used to that, get used to his moveset again. I do like the fight personally. I think it's a pretty good fight, but it was hard. I struggled a ton on this. Took me, I think across 3 days, like I said, 9 hours to beat him. It was rough. Sometimes he would just completely skip his like phase transformation, so I would just be shocked as he goes into phase 2. But I know, I got the fight down, and it honestly became not too big of a problem by the time I beat him, but going into that attempt, it was very, very rough. But now with his defeat, of course, I get access to 2 more weapons, which completes all the weapons for Canehurst and everything connected to Canehurst, even though I do gotta go do one more thing before I can get one of them. But, I mean, it honestly wasn't bad at this final attempt. It just took so long to get to this final attempt and really just finally beat Logarius. But first order of business now is to put on the Crown of Illusions and get access to the vampires, get access to that whole gang, everything, get access to the unopened invites, and just get those final 2 weapons out of the way so I can go beat the final few bosses of this run and finally be done with this struggle fest. So like I said, grab the unopened summons, join the cult of vampires, bring the unopened summons to the guy with the big wheel, and then just like that, got 2 more badges, 2 more weapons, just like nothing. Now I reroll for everyone's favorite boss, and I get the Chikage, just got that, so pretty hype, and I'm pretty good with it. And the upgraded Flame Sprayer, I'm probably just not going to use that at all if I'm going to be real. Now I get to relish Mikolash's face and his beautiful, beautiful eyes before going into the fight, and honestly, the fight's easy. I mean, it's about as fun as it normally is, but he's easy enough. I think I died once to him because of his stupid tentacle attack, and the stars got me pretty close a few times, but I did manage to survive. But it wasn't bad, pretty easy, just as annoying as it normally is, as much of a pain as it normally is, and just everything that you have to hate about Mikolash is still about in this run. The fight just lasts a little bit longer because I'm doing a little bit less damage than normal, but still pretty easy, and I'm going to take that win because the fights have been getting pretty hard recently and are only going to continue to follow that trend. From here on out though, as I just said, it becomes very, very, very bad for me, and from this end of this fight to my end of my run, I will put in somewhere in the rough estimate of 15 to 18 hours of just almost pure boss attempts, as there's not much running around to do anymore. And this is really in the run where I start taking massive breaks in between these clips and just spend a lot of time on this run. After defeating Mikolash, I get my next weapon, which is the big wheel. But to use this, of course, I'm going to have to level up some of my stats. So once again, I'm back leveling up a little bit, only because I have to. Still nothing into HP or stamina, but these weapons I'm getting at the end here are pretty much exactly how I needed to roll out, because if I got the big wheel for Gherman, I don't know if I'd be able to beat him, so it's kind of going perfect. But I go to the Old Hunter's Workshop as well and pick up the items in there to use later. I get a little bit of downtime between the bosses though, as I open up the shortcuts and have to take the absurdly long elevator down and back up just to have it unlocked, which wasn't too unappreciated, but at the same time was kind of annoying. But now I'm going for the first of the last 3 fights I am going to do, which is Murgo. Now obviously I gotta run up these stairs to get to her, but it's a pretty simple fight. I mean, Murgo's moveset isn't anything crazy, and as long as you can keep track of where she is during her like smoky phase, it's not bad, especially when she clones herself. I mean, that was honestly the biggest problem I had, but it wasn't necessarily bad at all, and I was done pretty quickly with this fight. But I mean, the wheel, not bad here. Didn't really help to have it, but didn't really harm to have it. It was just it's an okay weapon in my opinion. It's not great, it's not bad, but it worked, and especially for Murgo, which isn't too difficult. But like I said, Murgo was a very simple fight, which I would come to be very grateful for, as the next fight is honestly something even now, a good amount of time after recording this, I still get bad memories about. But now I do end up killing Murgo, so that means I have one thing to do before I get my next weapon, and it's pretty simple. I'm using the 3 umbilical cords now because we are fighting the moon presence in this run, and that's where I'm going to make up for what happened with the shadows. And I get the gun sword as my weapon. Don't even want to try pronouncing it, but it is pretty good because I do need a way to parry Gherman, because otherwise I don't think there's any possible feasible way I'm going to beat him. And even with this, it's pretty rough.
Kidding me? Hate my life.
I do end up changing one of my runes because it wasn't working out before, but there is a lot to say about this Gherman fight. I mean, I probably put 8 hours, if I had to give a rough estimate, just into this fight alone, and it is the only reason I almost didn't complete this run, because it was so difficult that it was just, I was losing all motivation, all hope, and it just became a struggle to just keep playing this game. So it took maybe only 8 hours of attempts, but like these attempts spanned over months and months. Like, this is a very long ongoing run for me because of this fight. But it did get to the point where I had found him so much, I knew every move he was going to do, and this is kind of where it all clicked. Like, I knew what he was going to do, I predicted everything, I knew exactly what to expect, and there wasn't really any surprises. It was just a long fight. The fight was also pretty long, like it took a long time to do and complete it, but the fight itself also took a good amount of time, like 10 minutes almost, I want to say. It sped up quite a bit in this, but it was, I mean, I'm just relieved to be done with it even now, and this is a good while after, but it was a struggle. I really did get lucky with the weapon I got, because I think if I got any other weapon, or any other way where I didn't have a way to parry him, so I didn't get the rifle spear, or once again, I'm not going to try pronouncing it, if I didn't get one of these weapons, I think it was over. I don't think there was any way I would beat this fight, because really, most of the damage I did came from parries, and I just wasn't doing a lot with regular R1s or R2s. So it was just, if I couldn't parry him, I think this would have been a dead run. So on that part, I got insanely lucky. And now let the last bit of this fight play before I get into the final part of this run.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my fucking god.
Now we are officially on the final fight. One boss left, and that is the moon presence. But I have no weapons left, which would be the case if I hadn't made that promise earlier in the video. When I swapped my weapon to kill the Shadows of Yharnam, I said I would use this armor or weapon set later on, and here's how I'm going to use it. No upgrades to the weapon, nothing will change at all, and I have to use it to beat moon presence now. The moon presence fight was actually pretty simple. His second phase was a lot easier than his first one, surprisingly. In the first phase, a lot of it was just getting some cheap shots in whenever I could. But in the second phase, whenever he would scream or charge up anything, it'd be a really good opportunity. I would get like a good chunk of damage in, because even though it was like a +4 weapon I was using, it did okay damage. It could have been a lot better, but it was still okay. Ludwig's sword is still pretty good, but like I said, second phase was more of a breeze than first phase. You'll see it a couple times. He'll scream, I'll be brought to 1 HP, but then I'll just get a ton of damage in, get back to full health, and it doesn't even matter. But I do run out of blood vials at the end, which you'll see, and my heart, I'm going to be completely honest, was racing pretty fast. With all that said though, this fight was another pretty long fight. Granted, it wasn't as hard as Gherman was, or probably about the same length though, but the difficulty was a lot scaled down. This one probably only took me a few hours at most. He has a really simple moveset that's pretty easy to learn, but similar like Gherman, one hit killed me. He was a struggle just from an HP standpoint, and I could only really get like a hit or two in because of my stamina. Even if I wanted to go for more, I just couldn't, because I'd be left wide open. So it's kind of more of a fight of endurance, just can I not mess up? Which I do mess up a lot, but normally it's only on attacks that don't one-shot me, which he has a few, so that worked out pretty fine. Another strategy-wise is whenever he hit me with the debuff that doesn't let me heal, I would just run away, because even if I don't get one shot, ID let's really low, so I can only take 2 hits at most. So I'd run away and just wait for it to wire down, because he pretty easily gets stuck on just the objects in the arena. So it makes that pretty easy and honestly pretty trivial. And yeah, it was a lot of just an endurance fight. It wasn't too crazy, it was just a long fight.
Oh my god, it's done! I did it! Oh my god, I did it! Holy shit! Done. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Are you cold?
But with all of that done now, I completed the challenge, granted with a slight hiccup in the middle, but I managed to do it after 50 hours into this run.
Oh, good hunter.
Oh, and here's a difficulty tier list for all the bosses.